So 1 Corinthians 7, verse 7, Paul says this. He says, I wish that all were as I myself am, but each has his own gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. Now, when Paul says, I wish everybody was like me, what he's actually referring to is the fact that he was a single dude. I think this is kind of funny because most single people that I meet are not excited about being single, and they don't want to encourage other people to be single like they're single. But Paul thinks singleness is a great thing, and he wishes that more people were single. He kind of elevates singleness throughout this entire chapter. And so what we don't want to do, though, is approach it weird and approach it out of context. And in my opinion, most people approach Paul's writings in this chapter about singleness wrongly. So here's the deal. Have you ever heard of someone talk about having a gift of singleness? Have you heard that phrase? This is a phrase that people like to throw out there. They get it from this passage, but it's what they typically say to someone. Usually it's women, not men. I've noticed this. And they'll say this to a woman who is getting close to 30, or getting close to 40, or getting close to 50, and she's not married. And then they say, well, maybe you have the gift of singleness. And it's their way of kind of patting her on the head and saying, that's okay. Maybe you have this terrible thing, singleness, and it's a gift, but it's terrible, and no one wants it. And so they're kind of half right and half wrong. Because when someone says, maybe you have the gift of singleness, the right part is that person does have the gift of singleness. What they're wrong about is the maybe. Okay, here's how it works out. Christmas is coming. My kids are beginning the lists. On Christmas morning, I'm going to hand each one of my children a gift from me, and they will have that gift in their possession. And if I was to say to them, whose gift is that? They would say, my gift, because you just gave it to me, and I have it. And it's mine, and it's in my possession. So let me explain this in a really simple way. This is the test to figure out whether you have the gift of singleness. So if you've ever wondered, we're going to solve it in the next 5 seconds. If you're single, raise your hand. Up high. You have the gift of singleness. Okay, and let me move on to the next one because this might be confusing for some of you. We're going to test to see if you have the gift of marriage. Are you married? Please raise your hand. You have the gift of marriage. Now, do you see how easy and simple that is? But we've made it all complicated and over-spiritualized it. And so what we're going to do is next week, we're going to talk about singleness. The week after, we're going to talk about marriage. But today, we're going to talk about the overarching concept that Paul wants them to get out of the idea of singleness and marriage. And it's profoundly simple. God has given you something, singleness or marriage, and the question is, are you using it for Him? This gift you have of singleness or marriage, are you using this for Jesus?